So, today I am trying something a little bit different, something I have not done on my channel before. And I'm doing this as kind of an experiment to see how you guys like it. If you do, please let me know, and I can most certainly make this a regular video on my channel. So, in order to illustrate to you what I'm going to be doing today, I'm going to tell you a little story. So, not long ago, maybe a week and a half to 2 weeks ago, I was in bed trying very hard to get to sleep, and I was having a really hard time. I listened to ASMR basically every night to help me fall asleep, as I know many of you do, and it generally works like a charm for me. But this particular night, I was very anxious, really stressed out. My mind was just racing, and I just couldn't, for the life of me, find a video that would help. So I eventually just gave up on ASMR for the night, and instead I started reading stories and watching videos about Futurology, which is basically just the study of advancements and progress mostly in science and technology. There's actually a whole subreddit called Futurology, which is what I was browsing that night. And I was reading all of these stories and watching all these videos and finding it so incredibly uplifting and encouraging, and I started feeling really good and really hopeful and happy, and just generally kind of excited for mankind in general, because it was all these really great stories about advancements in medicine and technology, things that will really improve modern life. And I was able to relax enough to get some sleep, and that was really nice. It was kind of a really nice mindset to be in right before bed. However, the one thing about it was that the videos that I was watching, even though they made me feel good and hopeful and all those things, they weren't obviously designed for relaxation. They were designed for informing. So I thought, how cool would it be to have the ability to learn about all these things and get that good, happy, positive, hopeful feeling right before bed, but have someone tell me all of that in how this idea was born. So that's what I'm going to be doing today. It's kind of an experiment. But I'll be sharing with you a small handful of interesting and encouraging stories about some positive advancements in science and tech. Things that I think would overall improve human life. And I'll be sharing all these things with you in a softly spoken / whisper voice. And I'll talk ear to ear from this side to this side, and also move around the microphone in a circle too. And hopefully you will find it relaxing, tingle-inducing, sleep-inducing, and just happy and positive like I do. So, if this is something that you enjoy, please let me know in the comments. And if enough people express interest, then I can do this somewhat regularly. So, if that happens and it becomes a somewhat regular video on my channel, I'll be tentatively naming it FutureCalm. So, just let me know what you think. But in the meantime, we'll go ahead and get started. I've got some good stories to share with you today. First one is something really cool. There is a small startup company in Europe that is developing a light fixture that mimics the light of the sun. And when I say that it mimics the light of the sun, I don't mean like the light bulbs that claim to look like sunlight. This is actually a big, giant light fixture that goes on the ceiling of a room. And it actually looks and is designed to look like a big skylight. And if you see pictures of it, which if you want to, and if you want to learn more about this, I will include a link to the story in the description below, as well as links to all the other stories. But if you see pictures, you will be convinced that you're looking at a room with a skylight. But in fact, it is the light fixture. And that's it. The The company that's developing this light fixture is called Colux. And there are actually several different models of the fixture that mimic the sun in different parts of the world. It uses traditional LEDs that are calibrated to the same wavelengths as the sun, but just having some LEDs isn't enough to actually mimic how the sun shines through Earth's atmosphere. And Earth's atmosphere actually varies in its thickness and its composition, depending on where you are. So, in order to more accurately mimic how the sun shines through our atmosphere, the company, what they use is a very thin sheet of plastic. It's only a few millimeters thick, and it is made with nanoparticles inside it. And I guess that sort of diffuses the light in a really natural way, so that it really looks like the sun. And it's very windy. You might be able to hear that. But each light fixture has a hotspot, which is what is basically representing the sun. And if you look up at it, it actually looks like the sun. And depending upon which region the particular light fixture is supposed to be mimicking, the hotspot will be either larger or smaller. So in a fixture that is meant to mimic the sun in a tropical area, the hotspot will be much larger than if it's mimicking some place, Arctic, for instance. The thickness of the plastic sheet also varies depending on what type of light they're trying to achieve, what sort of atmosphere they're trying to imitate. Now, one of the first things that I was curious about when I first started reading this article was whether this type of kind of fake sunlight could have benefits for people's moods in the winter months. Some people suffer from seasonal affective disorder, also known as SAD, and they feel kind of down, blue, and depressed. And sunlight is something that is supposed to help improve that for people. But when I read further on the article, I learned that it actually doesn't emit any ultraviolet rays, which is basically what you need to get that kind of effect mood-wise. So the light probably won't really do much for someone suffering from seasonal affective disorder, and it won't give you a tan, but it's still really cool that a kind of underground building, like a basement or what have you, could feel like a naturally sunlit room. And one of the cool applications that was mentioned by someone in this article that I like a lot is the idea that with something like this used in architecture, we could potentially start or stop building skyscrapers and begin really building what they called groundscapers or earthscapers. Basically, instead of building up, we build down into the ground. And the underground buildings and homes and everything wouldn't feel as though you're just in a deep, dark cave. You would be kind of tricking your brain in a way into thinking you were at ground level. So that could be really interesting for future advancements in architecture. And I find that really interesting. So yeah, if you want to learn more about the Colux nanotech skylight, then check the description of this video and you'll find a link there. The next super cool thing that I'm going to tell you about is really, really interesting and very kind of hard to explain, so I won't get too deep into it. Again, if you find yourself wanting to learn more about these stories, please check the description. You'll find links to all my sources. But this story is a story about biology. There is a biochemist at the University of California at Berkeley, two scientists actually, who just received $3 million each for their invention of what could be a revolutionary tool for editing I say that they invented it, which they technically did not. They more or less discovered it. It's not a machine or anything that was built, but something that naturally occurs. Basically, they kind of half discovered and half created molecules that can kind of cut pieces out of DNA wherever they want, or wherever the scientist wants, and remove it and replace it with different DNA. Basically, there is I guess it's a molecule, and it's called CRISPR, and that's CRISPR, which stands for a series of words that I cannot repeat for you right now because I don't remember them, but essentially this is something that occurs naturally in microbes, I believe, and these scientists are now learning how to harness what it does on its own to do what they want it to do. For example, so there have been some scientists that have used the CRISPR molecule to actually repair defective DNA in mice and help cure them of genetic disorders. And that's really cool. There have also been some plant scientists who have used the CRISPR tool to basically edit the genes of certain crops, which is apparently creating the hope that we can ultimately engineer better crops and food supply for ourselves. And then there are even some people who are trying to use it to rewrite the genomes of elephants. And their goal is to recreate a woolly mammoth, which I think would be awesome. That sounds really cool. Obviously, I'm much more excited about the possible implications this could have for modern medicine. This could be huge. This could completely change the face of medicine as we know it. And I think that's amazing. Now, the way that this all actually works has lots to do with enzymes and RNA and a lot of things that I'm quite frankly, do not have a firm grasp of. But I really recommend reading the article that I have linked below, because it does a pretty decent job of explaining the science behind this discovery to those of us who are not super scientifically literate like myself. But it's worth a read if you're interested, because it's really fascinating and really exciting what this could mean for us. So check it out if you feel so inclined. For now, let's move on to our next cool story. There is a company that's called Alternative Ballistics that is working on what they're calling a less lethal alternative to bullets, kind of, in a handgun. And it's being currently tested with police officers in order to give officers options for non-lethal force when and if they can avoid it. So, the way this product works is that it is an accessory that attaches to the barrel of a handgun. And it's an accessory that the officer would keep on him and then attach quickly to the barrel of his handgun. And the attachment sort of goes over the barrel of the gun, and then on the very front there's a big kind of metal ball. When the gun is fired, the bullet is shot into the metal ball, which is then shot with the force that the bullet would have been shot with. And it's the metal ball and not the bullet that hits the officer's target. It's sort of like an airbag for the bullet and for the recipient. Now, getting shot with this thing would still really, really hurt, and it could still injure you, but it never enters your body, or that's the idea, the way a bullet kind of rips through the body. This airbag thing just hits you with extreme force, but then doesn't actually penetrate your body. Now, I feel like this is a good start, but the only issue, or one of the issues, is that once the gun is fired, once the accessory is done, it only works for the first shot fired. After the first shot, it's just regular bullets at regular force and speed. got its pros and cons, in my opinion, but ultimately I like where this is headed. It was actually created or invented by a retired police officer who didn't like the fact that people were being shot when they didn't have to be, by police officers. So this is something that's being tested, and if you want to see what it looks like, there's actually a great video that demonstrates how it works in the link that I'll provide below. So feel free to check that out if you want to kind of see what it looks like. The video does a good job of demonstrating how the attachment actually functions. Now they do say that while the attachment makes the gun less lethal, it still actually could technically be lethal to someone who is maybe very frail, or if they're shot in just the right place or under the right circumstances. But the goal is to avoid lethal force wherever possible, and I can certainly get behind that. So I consider this an overall very positive step forward in I guess gun technology, maybe. So the last story that I'm going to tell you about is one that I actually learned about maybe a couple weeks ago. It was one of the ones that I read when I was having that night where I couldn't sleep that I told you about. It's one of the stories that actually gave me the idea for this video. So there is some existing technology right now, it's been around for a bit, that is called the Nanos breathalyzer technology. Basically, the Nanos breathalyzer technology, what it does is it can, through a breathalyzer test, it can sort of smell on the person's breath whether or not they have a tumor or tumors, whether they're benign or malignant. It can actually detect the presence of tumors through smell. So that has been around for a little bit, but now a new product is being developed that they're calling the sniff phone. And it is going to be, I'll quote this article. I have it open on my phone. It will be a tiny, smell-sensitive sensor that will be installed onto a phone add-on, and using specifically designed software, the phone will be able to smell users' breath to determine if they have cancer, among other serious diseases. according to this article, cancer cells actually emit a certain kind of unique odor, which I did not know. So the system can detect whether tumors are there just based on recognizing that odor. And basically the Nanos technology will be put on a chip and then installed into a device, and the device will then be attached to a smartphone, and then an app can be downloaded that will read the data collected, and it can be analyzed on the phone or uploaded to the cloud. And according to the article, the Nanos technology, for whatever reason, is especially useful in detecting lung cancer in particular. What it says here is that lung cancer tumors produce chemicals called volatile organic compounds, or VOCs, which easily evaporate into the air and produce a discernible scent profile. The Nanos chip detects the unique signature of VOCs in exhaled breath, and apparently Nanos technology is like 90% accurate. So that's huge. Just imagine being able to basically breathe into your smartphone and have it tell you whether or not you have cancer, possibly giving you a life-saving early diagnosis that you may not have gotten otherwise. Apparently, lung cancer itself is one cancer that can be kind of difficult and time-consuming to detect with traditional medical testing, and a lot of times people coming in and being diagnosed are already symptomatic, and so they've lost valuable time for treatment. But the professor who sort of developed this technology said in the article, he said, "The sniff phone is a winning solution. It will be made tinier and cheaper than disease detection solutions currently. It will consume little power, and, most importantly, it will enable immediate and early diagnosis that is both accurate and non-invasive. Early diagnosis can save lives, particularly in life-threatening diseases such as cancer." So, I think that is amazing and wonderful. I get all these kind of warm fuzzies thinking about how many people's lives could potentially be saved by something like this. How many people would shouldn't have to lose loved ones, family, and friends to things like cancer and other diseases. And that just, I don't know, puts a smile on my face. So, that's all that I'm going to share with you for tonight. As I said, if you enjoyed this video and would like to see more of this, if you kind of share my sentiments about how nice it is to fall asleep to hopeful and uplifting progress and advancements, then please let me know in the comments, and I can do this again. And if I didn't already mention it, which I did like 30 times, but if you missed it, in the description below you will find links to all of the articles that I referenced here tonight. So if you feel like learning more about the stories that I shared with you, then feel free to check those out. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, I wish you restful sleep and pleasant dreams. And I'll be seeing you all again very soon. Good night. Yeah, right now I'm working on a story about a sordid love triangle.